Hey everybody, amplifierguy.com. There's my phone number and my website. Get this out of the way. Okay, so another 922. This is the last of the bunch. It's the one that had the shipping damage occur. So I'm going to bend this back, take this off, bend it back, and then I'll epoxy that. You can always replace the side panels. Easy to remove for Allen screws. Pops right off. These tabs, there are 3 on each side. They're part of the side assemblies. A few of the tabs are broken off, so I'll have to put like temporary stick-on feet, because you cannot have this flush on your desk because it needs to have a gap so air can move through the bottom vent for cooling to cool the components. So I'm going to go over everything real quick. I had to change the electrolytic, put an electrolytic in. Someone did some crazy stuff here. They moved this orange wire, which feeds the relay, the rectified voltage to the relay coil in the back. They moved it over one, and looks like they cut it and put it back. And they had a diode across, like a flyback diode across the coil. That one just very sloppy, which is very, very nasty work. So I took all that out. It's not needed. I've worked on over, I think, around 580, almost 600 of these. I've never had to change that relay. I've never had to change this relay, ever. I mean, I've seen the spring pop off that relay, but maybe twice, 2 or 3 times. I think it happened usually during shipping or something, but I've never had a relay failure. So let's go over everything else. The guy took the chokes out, and he ended up putting a resistor. He took the 2 chokes out, and like this. This is a style choke it would have in it, with a resistor in parallel with it. One here, and then a mica cap like this between here, here, and here. So the values are all over the place. I don't know why I did this. So I'm going to end up, they have the same color code, but the value, like anywhere from like 7, I think it was like 70 ohm up to like 150 ohm, so they're all over. So I'm going to pull those out, ground them the proper way. He also changed the doorknob caps for the plate padding caps. When you select 80 or 160 meters, this adds padding capacitors to the plate tune C1 side of the output network. And he moved these caps over. That's fine where they are, but normally these would be over one, and then the other caps would be over here. So I'll have the strap over here, the low inductance mod strap. I'll do the bias modification and everything else I do. So this guy bought it on eBay. He sent it to someone in his state. It had damage from when he bought it to him getting it, and then he brought it to someone local, and I don't know if they did this or if it was like that when he got it, but he got it back, didn't work, so he ended up sending it to me, and I'll go through it, make it right. Also needs a plate current meter, and the glass is cracked but not all the way through, but this front panel could always be changed. So out of all of the 922s I've worked on, I've never had a bad plate current meter, so that's that. But okay, so I'm going to get to work, and I will be back, so please stay tuned. See you soon. Okay, so I got all that stuff done in there. I noticed that the wire is pinched really bad over here, the line cord. It's actually through the insulation, so I'm going to have to take this out, cut it, restrip it, reinstall it. This was also damaged. The customer said he had replaced the fan. Didn't put one of the 4 screws through, and also used really heavy gauge thick conductor wire, so this is very rigid. I'll use like a butt style connector. Actually, did I just break off? No. Yep, it did. Connection just broke off. Solder joint. So I will cut this and solder some flexible wire, zip tie it and everything, and I'm going to bend this back also. So I'll be back. See you soon. So took it apart, took the fan out, bent the metal back a bunch. Didn't come with this cover. so there's usually a cover right here. So 2 of these screws I reused, the other 2 are new. The original screws are they're like a fine thread. They go through a tab on the other side, so I put a split washer and a regular washer in and put them in, and then 2 stainless screws, 632 with a cap knot on either side with a washer. I cut the old thing out right here, and the old wiring was a solid center conductor. Used some Teflon wire with a stranded center conductor, and I soldered and heat shrunk it to the old stock wiring, and I used these square tabs to zip tie it along the inside of this so it's nice and neat. I showed how the cord was damaged, so I removed it, cut it back, restripped it, resoldered it, put the ferrite piece back on the binocular core, and that's all set. And I bent this back over here, so I'm going to go get some epoxy and epoxy these pieces back together on the side panel. Like I said, he can always replace it, but you know, it'll look a little bit better at least for now. So I just put the screw in, and I used my channel locks and I'm sorry, my vice grip. You could call them, I think some people call them channel locks, but anyway, vice grip, and I bent it back. So okay, so I'm going to do that, and then this thing's basically all set. Like I said, just have to change the meter. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back with the 922. I'm going to replace the plate current meter. So what I do is I remove the side panels, I remove the knobs and then the front panel, and I remove all the screws that hold this panel to the chassis. This was bent up a bit. I bent it back some. I'll try to bend it back a little more. It had been dropped at some point, one of the times it was shipped. So this whole assembly is secured by 2 screws. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the meter carefully from that assembly, and I'll be back when the new one is installed. See you soon. Okay, so I had to take the board out. I used a different meter movement, so I had to replace the resistor on the board here, which is that one right there. And there. I had to modify the bracket because the stud sticks out a little bit further. Actually, the nut hits, so I had to, there was no just cutting the stud coming out of the meter movement. I had to actually modify this. The guy I got the meter from did not tell me that. So to remove this whole assembly, touched up on some solder joints also. I'm going to cut back all these wires and then resolder them back on. So I'll be back. See you soon. Hey everybody, I'm back with the completed amplifier. This thing needed a lot of stuff done to it. It's finally done. Finally. Someone else had their hands in it. I beg you, if you have an amplifier repaired, please just send it to me. Unless you have full faith in the person you're sending it to, you just end up creating more work for me, and it just makes it more money in the end than if you just sent it to me right off the bat. I have to undo and figure out and undo whatever the other person did. It just makes it a lot more difficult, so it drives the price up. Okay, so I ended up replacing the meter. So it's basically a China meter, and they photocopied a backing plate off another one, and they like taped it on and used some glue. You can see it, but you have to replace that resistor on the board, the 1.5K with the new value down there, one right down there. So anyway, I had to modify the frame to get it to fit. I had to take that whole assembly out and fix some solder joints underneath anyways. It's good I took it out, but I notched the frame. It's kind of hard to see, but down there, and I put a piece of Teflon tube over the stud. You can't just cut down the stud, and I didn't want to risk damaging the inside of the meter movement by using a Dremel to cut the stud, so the nut would have hit anyway, and the stud still was overlapping the board, so I slipped a piece of Teflon tube over it and put some silicone on the end so it wouldn't slip back off towards the board. Soldered everything real good, zip tied everything, fixed some other solder joints. Got the series glitch resistor, the meter protection diode. Brand new set of Pentalab tubes, awesome company, has an aftermarket fan. Customer had installed that. I showed that before, and I fixed the wiring. Their variables are good. So put the strap right there. I'll flip it over, I'll show the bottom, and I'll be right back. See you soon. Hey, here's the bottom. The new electrolytic, new Zener diode. You always want to make sure you put good thermal grease, clean off the old stuff, put the mica insulator in, and put thermal grease on both sides, just enough to cover the surface. Don't glop it, don't put a ton on. Replace the diode over here. Clean the rotary switches, deoxit gold. Grids are grounded. Got rid of the resistors. Did the bias modification. The low inductance mod over here, because normally the path between the plate tune cap comes down the chassis over here and then ends up having to go through this bracket before it gets to the grids, and that's not good. So this thing is all set. Also bent back the frame and epoxied the corner back on. You can get a this was already, I don't know what that's about, but someone had epoxied something before on this thing. I don't know what, but that's not, oh yeah, from the foot. So that's from that. That's not from me. So he can get new side panels at some point. They are available now and then on eBay. Same with the front, because it has the crack. I bent back the panel a bit. I showed before, so the knobs are more straight. And the spring was broken underneath the handle, so this was all bent up. Must have gotten dropped hard on the front and side, for that to break. But so no longer has the spring underneath this handle. But I'll have to be careful when he goes to pick it up. He doesn't end up bending this outward and having that pop out. So I'll let him know. I also cut back the cord because it was pierced. The insulation had been compromised through the gray insulation and also the internal insulation on one of the conductors. So I took that apart and restripped it and resoldered it, so it's all good. So this thing was a lot of work, but she is ready to go. Bent down there, but I'll leave it alone. So yeah, this thing was dropped hard. As you can see, the foot, this is where the foot was. But if he ends up replacing the side panels have these pieces attached to them, so he can put feet on it, when he gets new side panels. So great amp, my favorite amp. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Here's my website and my phone number. If you have an amplifier in need of repair that you see on my YouTube channel, feel free to give me a call. I go through them as quick as possible. Things don't sit around forever, and I go through them and do everything. I don't just do one or two things. I do everything that needs to be done, so hopefully the amp will last for many, many, many years. So take care. 73.